What's up, YouTube? So the Miami Dolphins have just hired Mike McDaniel as our next head coach. He was the 49ers offensive coordinator. Now, he hasn't actually called any plays so far in his young coaching career. He was basically the offensive coordinator that basically was supposed to handle the run game, but he wasn't actually calling the plays. That fell to Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. But it all comes from the Mike Holmgren coaching tree, which led to Andy Reid, John Gruden, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Ron Rivera, Sean McDermott, John Harbaugh, Doug Peterson, Frank Reich. Just a lot of really successful coaches have come from this coaching tree. So I'm hoping that we can keep that success going. Because Kyle Shanahan comes from the John Gruden coaching tree, and Mike McDaniel, obviously, from Shanahan. So I'm hoping that we have some success there. A lot of these guys are really good offensive minds, and I'm hoping that Mike McDaniel is another really good young head coach that can really take us to the next level. Because let's be honest, our defense has some pretty good personnel there already. I don't know if Xavier Howard's going to be here or not, but even if not, we have people like Byron Jones, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Brandon Jones. Like we got some guys to, even Jerome Baker. Obviously, we have some needs, possibly at corner depending on Xavier, and we're going to need a nickel regardless, and probably a linebacker. But offense is really where we really need to help. We haven't been able to run the ball successfully in a very, very long time, and we haven't had a good offensive line. Obviously, Brian Flores was a defensive-minded head coach, so some of the offensive personnel kind of took a back seat. But I'm hoping that with Mike McDaniel and him being very run-heavy, the 49ers are a very run-heavy team, hopefully he will really value having a really good offensive line, because that has been our biggest flaw. Our running backs aren't great, but I don't think that Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed, and Malcolm Brown, I don't think those guys are actually that bad, like Duke Johnson. They're not great, but they're not horrible. I just think our offensive line is one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen in my life in the NFL. So that's what we really need to really improve. Probably get a couple of receivers as well. But hopefully he can work with Tua, and hopefully we can build the personnel around him. Our draft picks aren't that great. Coincidentally, we actually have the 49ers first round pick, which is 29, which really sucks. But we do have like $70 million in cap space to kind of play around with, so that's a thing. So hopefully we can get at least 2 solid offensive linemen in the free agency, and then at least 1 in the draft. Because I feel like if you have 3 of your starting 5 offensive linemen being solid, I think that's probably a pretty good start, and I think it's unrealistic for us to expect him to address all 5 positions in one offseason successfully. And then, like I said, I would like a running back as well. But I do like the hire. I did want Brian Daboll. He was my first choice, but I also Mike McDaniel was my second choice. I wanted him over Jim Harbaugh. I wanted him over everybody. Now, I know that there is concern about him being able to put a coaching staff together because he's so young. But at the same time, we've seen so many of these young coaches come in and be able to put a coaching staff together. Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay. Like, we've seen so many young head coaches come in and do this. So I'm not really that worried about it. We just have to be a little bit patient. And it's not like Brian Flores really put together that great of a coaching staff, or Adam Gase, or Joe Philbin. Like, not like the experienced guys have really put together a great coaching staff either. And because Joe Philbin's fucking ancient. Even Tony Sparano. Oh, actually, Tony Sparano actually had some decent coaches in there, but anyway, that's pretty much all my thoughts. I just wanted to kind of address it. Mike McDaniel was definitely my second choice. Like I said, Daboll was definitely my instant thought the second that Flores was fired. But I am very happy with this. I'm very interested in seeing what happens. I'm happy we did get an offensive-minded head coach, because that is definitely where we need help. We had a pretty solid defense last year, but our offense was horrendous. And I think a lot of that has to do with just not having the personnel. I don't even really blame the offensive coordinators. And I say that because there was 2 of them, which is a stupid idea in and of itself. But what do you... I said this multiple times last year. Like, what do you call, play call-wise, when you have 5 terrible offensive linemen, some mediocre running backs, an inexperienced quarterback, and some receivers who either can't stay healthy or are inconsistent as far as play? Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki were the only 2 consistent pieces of our offense all season. So, I don't know what you do with that as far as play call goes. But, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, appreciate hitting that like button. If you have any questions. Actually, real quick. Maybe, too, with Mike McDaniel coming from the Niners and him seeing what the 49ers are able to do with George Kittle, maybe that sets a better precedent for us trying to keep Mike Gesicki, which I'm for, especially with the amount of money we have. But anyway, yeah, that's going to do it. If you liked it, appreciate hitting that like button. Have any questions or comments in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.